The Ironsight glided silently through the void, its hull a sleek shadow against the vast expanse of stars. On board, a skeleton crew manned their stations with quiet precision. There was a stillness to the ship's hum, steady, purposeful. The usual hum of engines or the occasional static in communications had faded, leaving only the soft whoosh of air filtration and the click of consoles. Captain Elara Frost stood by the viewport, her icy blue eyes scanning the infinite black. Her expression was unreadable, but her mind churned with a question that gnawed at her ever since the briefing: why are we out here? The mission, a standard run to the farthest reaches of the galaxy, felt off. She had led dozens of similar missions, but this one was different. Something was brewing in the galaxy, and the Ironsight had been thrust into the center of it. "Captain," came the gravelly voice of Commander Jace Harrow, interrupting her thoughts. He approached from behind, his boots echoing lightly on the metallic floor. "We're entering the anomaly zone. The coordinates check out, but I'm not seeing anything on the long-range scans." Elara turned, her face betraying nothing. Jace was a good officer, reckless at times, yes, but his instincts were sharp. He was loyal, almost to a fault, and that made him valuable. But this silence, this dead zone, it unnerved him. It unnerved them all. "Good. Keep it that way. We don't want anything detecting us before we complete our scan." Her voice was low, deliberate. Jace nodded, but his gaze lingered on her for a fraction of a second longer than necessary. The quiet between them stretched, charged with the kind of tension only long-standing familiarity could produce. "Something's wrong, Elara," Jace muttered. "I've got a bad feeling about this. Why do we always go out alone, like this? No fleet, no backup, just the Ironsight?" Elara's lips pressed into a thin line, but she didn't answer immediately. She knew the question was more than a simple query, it was a reflection of Jace's growing doubt. There was a reason human ships traveled alone. It was a strategy ingrained in them from the beginning of the war, a psychological advantage, an isolation tactic. But even she wasn't immune to the doubts it raised. "Focus, Commander. We're on a mission," she said, keeping her tone firm. "If there's a threat, we'll handle it. We always do." A warning ping sounded from the console behind her. Lieutenant Shane, the ship's sensor officer, swiveled in her seat, her expression grim. "Captain, incoming ship detected. 5 clicks out." Her voice faltered. Elara's heart skipped. She crossed the deck in 3 long strides, her boots heavy on the metal floor. "Shane?" "Unidentified ship," Shane continued, her fingers tapping rapidly on her console. "It's big, Captain. It's not a commercial vessel. And it's coming in fast. Too fast." "Identify the class," Elara demanded. The officer's hands stilled. "I'm still trying to." Before she could finish, the lights flickered, and a low rumble shook the ship's hull. A few of the crew stumbled, their steps uncertain. Jace's hand shot out to steady himself against a nearby rail. His eyes met Elara's, filled with that same unease that had been lingering in the air. "Get to the bridge. Now," Elara snapped. She turned toward the rear of the command center, her boots clicking with purpose. She didn't need to look back to know that Jace was right behind her. Her mind was already running through the options, none of them good. The incoming ship didn't belong here, and that could mean only one thing. They were being hunted. The hull groaned under another pressure shift as the ship's intruder alarm blared. "All hands, brace for impact." Elara barked into the comms, even as she raced to the tactical display. "Shane, give me a visual." The screen flickered, and a distorted image of the enemy vessel appeared, its sleek, angular shape unlike anything she'd ever seen. Dark and foreboding, it exuded a chilling sense of familiarity, alien, but not unknown. It was the kind of ship made for quick strikes, designed to overwhelm before the victim even realized what was happening. Jace swore under his breath. "Raiders. Stay sharp," Elara ordered. "Shane, can we outrun them?" Shane's fingers danced across the controls, but the answer was clear from the way her brows furrowed. They're faster. We're too far into the anomaly zone. They've got us. Elara's mind raced. There was only one option left. Prepare for evasive maneuvers, she ordered. And get the guns online. We're not going down without a fight. Jace's voice was low but urgent. Elara, why are we always alone? Why do they think they can attack us like this? Because they've underestimated us, she replied sharply, her voice calm in the face of rising chaos. And that's their mistake. In the dark depths of space, amidst the ancient, forgotten battlefields of the galaxy, a lesson was about to be taught. Humanity was not to be underestimated. The fight was just beginning. The Ironsight lurched again, this time with enough force to send the crew stumbling across the bridge. Captain Elara Frost gripped the console in front of her, steadying herself as the ship groaned under the strain. The low hum of the engines was replaced by the violent shudder of the hull, and for a moment, the dim emergency lights flickered, casting long shadows across the small, tight space. Jace Harrow, his face taut with tension, shot her a look. They're firing at us again. How are we holding up? Better than expected, Elara replied curtly, tapping a series of commands into the tactical display. The ship's shields were holding, but just barely. Each hit from the raider ship forced the Ironsight to push deeper into the anomaly zone, a region of space littered with remnants of ancient battles and broken ships. This was no place to be trapped. Can we outrun them? Jace asked, voice laced with concern. Elara's gaze flicked to the sensor readout. Not with that ship's speed. But we can make them regret the chase. Jace grimaced. I don't know if that's enough. The enemy vessel's dark silhouette loomed on the radar, a sleek predator in the cold emptiness of space. Every time it moved, the Ironsight jerked in response, forced to dodge and weave in a desperate attempt to avoid a direct hit. Elara's fingers danced over the controls, calculating, recalculating their options. She was losing precious time. We need more space, she muttered, more to herself than anyone else. The anomaly zone wasn't just a dead zone, it was a graveyard. The wreckage of ships and stations, twisted and burnt, were scattered like the bones of ancient creatures. A high-pitched alarm shrieked from the far side of the bridge. Shields are down to 30%. Shane, the sensor officer, called out, her voice strained but steady. If they hit us again. We're dead, I know, Elara finished. Her mind raced through the options. She wasn't one to rely on hope, but if they didn't make a bold move now, there wouldn't be any options left. Jace, get to the aft hatch, Elara ordered, her voice sharp with authority. We're making an emergency jump. Jace didn't hesitate. You've got it. He bolted from his post, his boots clanging against the floor as he moved with the urgency of someone who knew that hesitation meant death. Elara's fingers moved with practiced precision, executing the series of commands that would initiate the jump. But as the countdown began, something caught her eye, a flash of movement on the edge of the radar. A second raider ship. She'd known they weren't alone. Shane, what's the status of that other ship? Elara barked. Shane's face turned pale as she ran the diagnostics. It's not showing up on any of our scans. Whatever tech they're using, it's blocking our sensors. I don't know how, Captain. Jace! Elara shouted. Abort the jump! But it was too late. The countdown had already reached 0, and the ship began to lurch again, this time violently as the sudden acceleration of the jump sent everything into chaos. The lights flickered once more, and the sound of crashing metal echoed through the corridors. The Ironsight jerked forward into the unknown, its fate sealed by the very act of survival. The moment the jump concluded, the chaos on the bridge settled into a tense silence. The ship had shifted to a new sector, one that had no name on any of their charts, an area so far beyond the reach of known space that even the most advanced mapping systems couldn't place it. Elara's hand hovered over the comm system, hesitating. She'd been forced to gamble with their lives. She had hoped, perhaps foolishly, that the anomaly's erratic nature would throw off the raiders' pursuit. But now, it was clear, they were lost in the deep. The only thing worse than being chased was being stranded with no way out. Shane was the first to break the silence. Sensors are down. I don't understand it. The jump should have worked. Elara exhaled slowly. We're deep in the unknown now. Whatever happens next, we're on our own. Jace returned to the bridge, his face tight with tension. What's the status? We're not in the clear, Elara replied, turning toward him. Those raiders might still be following. We'll need to stay under the radar, out of sight. No more surprises. But even as she spoke, a strange sense of dread settled over her. There was something in the air. Something she couldn't place. And then, the familiar sound of the alarm once again blared through the bridge, louder and more insistent than before. Captain. Shane's voice was frantic. I've got something. A signature, faint, but it's coming in hot. It's huge, bigger than any ship we've seen. And it's coming straight for us. Jace stepped forward, his eyes narrowed. What kind of ship are we talking about? Shane didn't answer right away, her fingers dancing over the console as she tried to filter the data. I don't know. But it's not raiders. It's a warship. A big one. Elara's heart sank. A warship this far out meant one thing: they weren't being hunted for profit anymore. They were being hunted to make a point. Prepare for evasive maneuvers, she ordered. And make sure those engines are up to full power. We can't outrun them, but we can damn sure make them work for it. Jace's voice cut through the tension like a knife. What's going on, Captain? Who's after us now? Elara's eyes met his, filled with resolve. Whoever they are, Jace, we're about to find out the hard way. And it's not going to be pretty. The ship groaned beneath them, as if the very fabric of space itself was closing in on them. The real battle, it seemed, was only just beginning. The Ironsight shuddered again, but this time it wasn't from a hit. The entire ship seemed to vibrate with the hum of energy swirling through the engines, their only lifeline in this deep, uncharted void. The warship, massive, dark, and menacing, was closing in. Elara Frost gripped the edge of the console, her knuckles white against the cold metal, as the tactical display flickered erratically. Their situation was slipping further from their control with each passing second. Shields at 20%, Shane reported, her voice strained. They're locking onto us with something I've never seen before. I can't even get a proper reading. It's almost like they're hacking our systems. Jace's voice cut through the tension like a blade. What are we dealing with, Captain? Is there anything we can do? Elara's eyes narrowed as she stared at the enemy ship, its presence now undeniable. She had seen many ships in her time, but this was something entirely different. A sleek, angular warship, bristling with weaponry, its engines glowing a fierce blue, pulsing like some kind of predatory heartbeat. Whatever it wasn't just another raider ship. The Ironsight wasn't prepared for this. We don't have time for evasive maneuvers, Jace. We're being targeted by a warship, Elara said. This isn't a pirate. These are trained killers. Jace's jaw tightened, his fingers gripping the nearest console. We've been running from them for hours, Captain. We can't keep this up. We don't have a choice, she shot back, her voice harder than it had been in days. The weight of the decision pressed on her shoulders, but there was no time for second-guessing. Shane, I need a countermeasure. Anything. Fast. Shane hesitated, her fingers flying across her console, but her eyes were glued to the screen. I can't. They've completely locked us out of the system. Whatever they're using, it's bypassing our firewall. It's like they know exactly what we'll do before we do it. The words sent a chill through the bridge. Elara's pulse quickened. This wasn't just an attack. It was a message. We're being hunted. We're too far in. We won't be able to jump again without their tracking us down even faster, Elara said, stepping back from the console, her mind working rapidly. Jace, get to the aft turret. If they get any closer, we'll need to fight them off with everything we've got. Jace nodded, his face hardening. Got it. Without another word, he turned and ran to the weapons bay, his boots pounding against the metal flooring. Elara stood there for a moment, alone at the bridge. The quiet was deafening, broken only by the low thrum of the ship's engines and the frantic tapping of Shane's fingers. Elara wasn't afraid. She had seen war, lost comrades, made impossible decisions, but now she felt the weight of something far worse, inevitability. Captain, they're almost on us. They're signaling us. Shane's voice trembled as she glanced at Elara, her face drawn with worry. Elara's gaze shifted to the tactical display, where the enemy ship's ominous silhouette was growing larger. A faint symbol appeared on the screen, a symbol of a star surrounded by 3 jagged lines, an insignia Elara didn't recognize. She stiffened, her mind racing for any memory that could place it. I'm not answering that, she said firmly, her voice steel. I think they want to talk, Shane replied quietly, eyes wide. We don't know what kind of message this is. It might be some sort of threat or it could be a trap, Elara cut in, her gaze never leaving the enemy ship. Whatever they want, it's not peace. Before she could issue any further orders, the sound of heavy footsteps filled the bridge. Jace returned, panting, his face flushed with adrenaline. They're coming in hot, Captain. We're going to have company. Their weapons are powering up. Elara turned toward him. Ready the aft guns, Jace. All we've got is a fight now. The deck beneath them quaked as another blast hit, sending a shockwave through the ship. It wasn't a full hit, but it rattled the crew, shaking them to their core. The shields, already worn thin, faltered. Shields at 5%. Shane called out. We can't take another hit like that. Jace. Elara snapped. Take them out before they get any closer. Jace didn't hesitate. He bolted to the aft turret and strapped himself in. His eyes never wavered from the targeting system. He gritted his teeth, his hands steady on the controls as the targeting reticule locked onto the enemy ship. The sound of the weapons powering up thrummed in the back of his mind. He could feel the raw energy building, each second, the tension rising. If he didn't fire soon, they wouldn't get another chance. Elara's gaze swept across the bridge, settling on the tactical readout once more. She had led many missions, but this felt different. Her hands trembled for just a moment, betraying the storm inside. If they didn't act now, if they didn't fight back, then the warship, whatever it was, would end them. Jace, do it now, Elara ordered, voice sharp and commanding. The bridge held its breath as the Ironsight fired, the deep rumble of the cannons sending shockwaves through the hull. A moment later, the blast struck the enemy ship, a violent burst of energy that briefly illuminated the surrounding space. But the warship didn't retreat. Instead, it retaliated with brutal precision, its weapons unleashed with deadly force. Brace for impact. Elara shouted. The Ironsight lurched forward as another blast hit, and Elara's mind raced. They had just made the first move, but the real battle was only beginning. And this time, there would be no easy escape. The Ironsight was dying. Shields were gone. Weapons were offline. The once pristine hull now bore the brutal scars of the relentless barrage. Elara's hands were slick with sweat, the controls beneath her fingers warm with the heat of overworked systems. The starboard side of the ship had been cracked wide open, a deep gash that showed the void beyond. The enemy ship was closing in, relentless in its pursuit, its weapons glowing brighter with each passing second. Captain, we can't take another hit, Shane's voice was a whisper, trembling with urgency. The engines are failing. Life support is holding, but we'll lose everything if they get one more good shot in. Elara's gaze locked on the enemy ship, a towering, sleek nightmare of black and silver. It was impossible to ignore. It was an apex predator, its size dwarfing theirs by miles. And it wasn't stopping. Not until they were nothing but debris drifting in space. We need to do something now, Jace's voice broke through the tension, fierce and unwavering. He was back on the bridge, his eyes burning with determination, despite the exhaustion that weighed on them all. She took a slow breath, feeling the weight of the decision pressing down on her. Her mind raced. They were outgunned, outmanned, but one thing the enemy hadn't accounted for was the one thing that made humans dangerous: their refusal to quit. They might be on the verge of death, but they weren't finished. "I'm going to try something," Elara said, voice low but fierce. "Shane, I need everything you've got to reboot the weapons system. We don't have time to get a full restart, but I need at least one cannon online." Shane hesitated. "It's a gamble. With all the systems down, it's a shot in the dark. I could fry the entire power core." Elara turned her gaze to the tactical display, flickering, damaged, but still functional enough to show her the enemy ship moving ever closer. "We don't have a choice. Do it." Shane cursed softly, but her hands flew to the console, inputting commands as fast as her fingers would allow. The sound of rapid key presses echoed through the quiet. Every second was agony. Jace looked at Elara, his jaw set. "Captain, you don't have to do this. We can fight another day." Elara didn't flinch. She couldn't afford to. "You know as well as I do that running isn't an option anymore, Jace. If we don't make a stand now, there won't be another day." The tension in the room was suffocating. The enemy ship was so close now, its looming presence like a dark shadow hanging over them. A hum reverberated through the ship as Shane's frantic tapping paused for a split second before resuming with renewed urgency. "Got it," Shane finally said, her voice shaking but resolute. "Systems rebooted. The cannon's online, but it's going to be weak. We'll need a precise shot." Elara wasted no time. She slapped her hand down on the firing button, sending the command through the ship's wounded systems. A low rumble followed as the cannon powered up, and for one brief, beautiful moment, the ship seemed to come to life again. The targeting reticle locked onto the enemy ship, and Elara felt the weight of every decision that had led to this moment. "Here goes nothing," she muttered, her thumb pressing down. The blast fired, a concentrated beam of energy, struggling to break through the weakened cannon, but with enough force to make an impact. The enemy ship flared brightly as the beam connected, briefly illuminating the dark vacuum of space. For a fleeting second, it seemed as though they might have a chance. The enemy ship staggered, its momentum faltering. But it wasn't enough. A counterattack came almost immediately, a blast of searing energy striking the Ironsight's port side with terrifying precision. The ship lurched again, throwing Elara and the others to the ground. The lights flickered out, plunging them into semi-darkness. For a moment, there was nothing but the disorienting hum of dying systems and the rhythmic pulse of Elara's heartbeat. Then, a voice broke through the silence. "I'm not going down like this." It was Jace. He was already moving, faster than Elara could process, making his way toward the secondary console, where the emergency weapon systems could be accessed manually. "Jace, what are you?" "Get ready," he said with a fierce smile, eyes burning with the fire of a man who wasn't ready to accept defeat. "We're not done yet." Elara's breath caught as he punched in a series of commands, bypassing the damaged systems. His fingers were a blur. The air was thick with tension, but there was something else in Jace's voice. Something she hadn't heard before: hope. The ship rumbled again, the hull groaning under the stress. Jace turned to her, his grin wide and defiant. "You might want to hold on tight, Captain." Without warning, he pressed the final key, and the secondary weapon systems engaged. This time, the shot was different. More powerful. More precise. The blast ripped through space like a comet, hitting the enemy ship with such force that it was impossible to ignore. The enemy ship's shields flared, then cracked. A moment of stunned silence followed before the explosion erupted from the heart of the warship. It wasn't a small hit. The ship was tearing apart in real time, and the darkness of space was lit up by its disintegration. Elara held her breath as the once formidable vessel buckled, collapsing in on itself. "Did we do it?" Shane whispered. The silence lingered for a heartbeat, then another. Finally, the tactical screen blinked. The enemy ship, or what remained of it, was gone. Yes, Elara said, her voice a mixture of disbelief and relief. We did it. As the Ironsight drifted in the silent void, the crew looked around, realizing they had just defied the impossible. They had survived. Together. Jace met her gaze, the defiance still lingering in his eyes, but now, there was something more. I told you we weren't done yet. And for the first time in hours, Elara allowed herself a small, relieved smile. The dawn had broken,